Good morning, good morning, good morning. How you doing, everyone? This is BizChicks TV. This is a place where you can find tips and tools to help you do business better. We're here to help you run a profitable business that's fun to run and to take the hassle out of your hustle. And today I'm here with our money mindset coach, Miss Caren Fern, all the way from Toronto, Canada. She's going to be dropping money nuggets for us all day long. And we hope that you have your pen and pencil ready so that you can scoop them up and apply them to your business and your daily life. Now, I'm just curious out there. I really want to know, are you paying attention? Have you saved anything? If you have, you want to share that with us so that we'll know that, we're being effective. Or if you have questions that you would like answered, just put them in the chat and we'll do our best to address them in the future. So, with that, I'm going to introduce to some, present to others. Miss Caren Fern. Did I say who I was? Well, look, I'm Terralina from California Cover Ups, and this is the Biz Chicks. So, with that, Coach Karen, hey, what's our topic today?
Today and all this month, we're talking about simple money talk. We're just simply just going to talk about money, just in the rawest form, so we could take it, mold it, do what it. I'm going to ask a lot of questions. I'm going to answer it. Everybody not answering it, and that's what we're going to simply just talk about money. All this month, we're just going to talk about it. We're not gonna, we did all of that. So this month we're just gonna talk about it, and we're gonna leave it unformed, and then we get back into form again next month. But I figure, this is the last month of the first quarter, so we're just gonna talk about money. Let's
Okay.
simply talk about money because that's what I do. Let's talk about money, okay? And so these are a couple of questions I'm going to throw there. Terry, I'm going to throw them to you. We'll talk back and forth about it
Okay.
and just go
Sounds
for
good.
it, right? So these are the questions. When you first learned about money, were you excited? What did you think you would do with it? And how has it disappointed you over time? So those are the three
Hmm,
things we're going to be talking about.
okay.
Because as I always say here on the channel, whatever we do in our personal lives, whether we like it or not, that's what we transfer into our business lives. When we
Mm-hmm.
start understanding ourselves and how we are with money and what happens with money, we become better stewarded of it. We behave better with it. We don't fall in the trap and the lies that we're not good with money because we just probably was not trained how to use it versus not being good with it.
Mm-hmm.
Most people that don't have money is not loving off of money. They're just trying to figure out how to get the money, keep the money, and do what with the money.
Yes.
And life happens, and life just happens. So today, again, as the first thing we're going to talk about, when you first learn about money, were you excited when you learned about it, Terry? Were you excited?
You know what? I don't know if I ever really remember being taught anything about money. Is that what you
Okay.
mean by learned about
Yes.
money?
Yeah, like
I
what's the value, what you do with it, like any of that sort of stuff.
I never really got training in that till I
Mhm.
became advanced in age, and they were hard lessons, bot lessons in a lot of cases. And no, I was not excited to learn that lesson at the time because it wasn't a cute experience. Oh my gosh. Some of my lessons included things like bankruptcy,
Yeah.
the loss of property.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was not a pleasant learning
Not.
process in most cases. But if you want to talk about my childhood, I knew money had value because I
Okay.
started working at the age of 11. So I always had a job, I always had something coming in, and I was allowed to control those resources. They weren't all allocated to the family.
Okay. Okay.
Mhm.
So you didn't spend it necessarily on yourself.
Yeah, I did.
You
I was
did.
allowed to spend most of it on myself, especially once I became a teenager. It was like, you know
Okay.
what? And I think my mother looked at it as a blessing. At least what she wants isn't coming out the family budget. And she's willing to work for it.
Work for it.
That's a work
Yes.
ethic, and
Yes.
she's
Yes.
building s- transferable skills.
Yes, yes. And that's really good. That's a really good place to start. I think
Hmm.
us as parents, when we don't know, and I had to go through that where they don't know the other step, so they can't teach it because
Hmm.
they themselves is trying to figure it out. So there's no blame here where we talk about simple money. It's just that as Terry was saying, so many people had to learn the hard way because nobody sits us down and talk about it. It become this shoo thing, and this thing that we don't want to talk about.
Well, the thing is, I can remember her talking to my brother
Okay.
about how to write checks, how to um, take care of things. And then also, I remember when I got engaged, that my father took my brother and my fiance in the room and told me he didn't need to talk to me about money. I'm like, really? I'm working every day. I mean, I was 26. I've been working since I was 11. But,
That was the other
people.
thing. That's the other thing about that we don't talk about. A lot of women was not introduced to because some of them, were stay-at-home moms, and B,
Mm,
even if they weren't and they want to work, same like you were saying, or even if they didn't had a dad, maybe a stepdad or uncle, but the men would mostly talk about it, but it wasn't
congregate
something that women get involved with and talk
or
to.
were
And
invited to the table.
table. Yeah, and very schemish. And when you bring up the subject, they look at you like, why are you in this conversation?
Why do you need to know this?
Why do you need to know this? Because they see themselves as caregivers. In that respect, we see it as caregivers when we cook, clean, and do the other stuff, and in their eyes, they're the caregiver of the finance.
Mm,
So that's why they think they're sheltering you. But the truth is, it's like having kids. If you do everything for them and you shelter them, they can never learn. So you
mm.
have to expose them to the situation so that they can learn. And which is, that was such a disservice for women, not being able to. I know from my mom time, my grandmother time, they were looked after so they didn't had a need for a job. My grandmother
That's
had always
interesting.
said though, she'd
That's
always said, she says, Karen, always work for your own money. That was her all.
But you know something, Karen, that is not an American experience. Not for
I
black
came to
women.
know it after the fact.
Not for black women. There was a boat. You got off the boat and they said, field to the left, cemetery to the right. And we've been working ever since.
Since,
And
yeah,
I'm sure we were working before we got on that boat, or we wouldn't have known what to do.
yeah, that's true. That's true. Sometimes I
Yes.
have to really take a step back and think about, yeah, when you
Yeah.
bring it to the
Yeah.
table and
I don't
people
know
mention
what
like,
the rationale was for that. Oh my
so
goodness.
really, your experiences make you think a certain way. It really is where you come in from what's happening. So if you weren't excited about money, can you imagine if you weren't excited about either making it or even if spending it, but not understanding what happens next, how
Hmm.
it affects you as it grow, as you get better jobs, as you're more educated, as your salary raise,
Yeah.
as all these things that sometimes we put pressure on people saying, you should have do this and should have known this. This is an exciting time. It's I came to hear that if people didn't have something, they'll buy so many TVs or so many cars, but that's because they're compensating for the conversation that they never had, to
Mm.
be in the room at the table, to be in the company of people who will say to them, listen, you just need to drive one car. And here's what you need to do with other cars' money. You need just one TV because you honestly don't need to watch that much TV so that you can spend the time learning and growing and reading. And if you can't read, you need to go and learn how to read so you can understand how to read this information. Because if you can't read is one thing, and then if you can't read really difficult books is the next thing.
Hmm.
That was a big thing in my comprehension class. My a teacher at the time had said to me, she says, Karen, some people can read but they can't comprehend, and you're a really good comprehender, and that's why you move
Hmm.
so fast and you're bright. And I didn't understand, even though she was saying this to me, how important that was. Because as you get older, that was in high school, and you keep reading more books, some books are just difficult to read. This is why
Hmm.
somebody actually wrote a book on how to read a book, which I had, I laughed about when I first learned about it. But as I read deeper into different things, I realize the need for such a book if you're not able to read and immediately comprehend what you have read. Now, for
Hmm.
you and I and people who comprehend easily, it seems like the strangest thing. Well, why wouldn't they be able to? Well, the words are coming off the page, they're able to say them, but they're not able to grasp the meaning of it and how it transfers them and what they're reading into the next step. Or they might understand how it transfers, but they don't understand actually how to take action and do it,
Hmm.
and that causes procrastination and what have you. And so imagine all that's happening, just a simple book. And now you're into learning about finance books, hurt your head. Because financial people is talking in a different language. It's not
Yes.
something you're used to. You know, you might have to reread that book 2 to 3 times to grasp that they're only telling you in the whole book, you only got 3 points. And you finish the book and you're like, I'm so confused. What did they talk about? They made 3 points, but they went around the bend, they come back around the bend, and they come back around the bend to tell you 3 points because they're in their heads. That's what I learned from finance
Mm.
books when I read them. I realized the person who's writing and the person who's editing are financial background people, so that's where they're coming from. They should probably give it to people to edit or
Yes, who
see
have
who just
no
actually
clue.
wants the information, you know.
Correct. Correct. Because then they would realize that they have to teach vocabulary in a lot of cases
Hmm.
in order to for people to understand these concepts.
Hmm.
There's a lot of assumptions being made.
Yeah, and if you don't, I had this series. It's not in North America. It was home. I don't know who's written it. And one of the things I like about this author is that
Hmm.
before you read his book, the first page, the interlude, and then he always had a vocabulary page at the front. These are
Exactly.
that's he's talking about what you're going to talk about. So so he would line it up, and I used to say, why he's doing that? And then in my head, like after I read books here, I'm like, this is what this was a good concept. This was a good concept.
There you
So
go.
you can go back and look at the vocabulary so you understand why he said this. What context he talking about it in, because it's relative to what he's talking about. I've never seen books like that here. So again, it's
Oh,
where you are, where
okay.
you live. You
You
learn
know,
it differently.
I find that if I'm trying to learn something, I absolutely need to know the vocabulary. And if I can't find the vocabulary in the book, then I'm frustrated
Right.
because
Very
there's an
good.
assumption going on that I know what's in this book. And if I knew what
Yes.
was in this book, why would I need to read it? You know, does that make sense? If I'm trying to learn something, you told me this book was how to jump rope, and then you assume that I know what a jump rope is.
Right. Now, if you had explained what a jump rope is, then you might be interested in continuing the book, you know.
Hmm. Or if there was a place for me to go, like you said, in a glossary or
Yes.
somewhere. And hmm
And say that. Now, a friend and I, we took bookkeeping together. And I was saying to her, I said, they go around in a circle and in a circle and in a circle to tell us how to journal and
hmm
do the trial balance. And if they had just simplified it, just simplify it. People know where to take something and put it over here to put it over here. But the old jargon is just round and around and around and around. They're repeating themselves in several different ways. And all it does, if you had never done accounting before, if you'd never worked in this field before, it just confuses the heck out of you. You don't know
because
what it is.
you don't know if they're talking about the same thing. Good morning, Cecilia.
Hi, morning, Cecilia.
Okay.
You know?
So that was my experience with learning about money.
Hmm.
No, I wasn't excited. I was excited about the things that I realized I could get with money.
Right.
Because I'd be saving for things and laying things away, and because I knew school was coming, so I'd lay away all my clothes over the summer,
Okay.
and they got
So that brought some kind of excitement then.
and worked and paid them off and that kind of thing. Yeah.
Yes, 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 yes. And so when you start earning money, like what is the thing that you think you would have done with it? Like what was the purpose of earning it besides clothes and stuff? Did you had any other purpose in mind? You know?
I did not. You know, because I didn't have anybody to teach me that I should be saving money
Okay.
or why I should be saving money.
Hmm. Hmm.
So I did not do well with that. I
Right.
spent everything I earned.
Mm. Yeah. Don't worry. That is universal. That one is universal. And I used to be questioning people. People were sick of me because I would say to them, "But why won't you want a little bit for later?" And they're like, "What later? I could die tomorrow." And my question used to be, "But what if you didn't die? What would you do?" You know, people didn't like me for that because I was a child. I was into asking people, according to them, stupid questions. And I remember I went to my grandma and I said to her, so, like, what do you have in your bank account? Because we were learning about money at school at the time.
Hmm.
And she said to me, she said, bank account? Why would I need that?
Well, I knew my mother had a bank account. That was not a family secret.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And I knew she had a savings account because she was a professional and my dad was in the military.
Okay.
So,
So they did save.
well, I don't know. We owned a house. They
Okay.
owned a house. So
Okay.
I'm presuming that something was going on.
Yes.
You
Yes.
know what I mean?
Yes. They just didn't talk about it. Okay.
Mm-mm,
Yeah.
they
I'm
did
hoping
not.
for the younger generation for it to be part of the conversation. Just like how you talk about the nice shoes that you buy or the nice bag that look great on you. Talk about money. Talk about where that's
Well,
coming from.
you can't teach what you don't know.
Exactly. Exactly.
Right?
That's why
So
I share no blame on them. I share no blame. I ask and investigate because I really wanted to know when I was younger why certain things wasn't getting done, why this wasn't happening. Because
Mhm,
for us home, most houses are passed down. Your mom live your house. The house is the family house. The house is not, all the sisters would live in the house because mom left the house to them. And they themselves don't know how mom bought the house. So that was
mhm,
the kind of thing. I mean, in my generation, people started buying houses, but in those times, my mom and grandma times, houses were just passed down. Every
mhm,
house, the generation lived there for years. And they would add on to the land, they'll add an next apartment, they'll build up, put something over the house. So nobody was going and buy a house. You just lived in the house. So that was my experience, North America taught me differently.
mhm.
So those questions to them was like, what are you talking about? And then when I came to North America and I started talking to people about money too, before I even get into the field, most people, I guess, that I know or around my didn't want to talk about it. And I
Mm.
guess it's for embarrassment, I realized later.
Well, also it's a lack of knowledge. You
Mhm.
can't have a discussion around things that you don't know
You
enough
don't know.
about.
Yeah. Yeah. Or
Hmm.
they're feeling they don't know or they feel like they have none to say. And I feel sometimes people did have to say, but also they don't want to tell you because maybe they don't know how to explain it to you. I've been in those situations too where they have money, but they either got it however and don't want to spend the time explaining it to you or think you might get into their business or whatever that might be happening and so they don't want to tell
Hmm.
you. So I've experienced that too. But you know it's one of those things that we need to just get comfortable with so that it's not this big barrier, this big no that we talk about. Okay, and number three is, how has it disappointed you over time? Has it disappointed you over time?
I don't think money has disappointed me. I think my operator error
Has disappointed over time.
has resulted in some disappointment. You know what I'm saying? Uh, I mean, money will work for you if you put it to work, but if you don't know where to send it,
Yes,
it's not gonna it's not gonna work for you. So
that's true. It has no sense.
money didn't do anything to me.
Yeah,
I didn't do anything to it, and that's why it did not show up at the appropriate
I hear you.
time. Cecilia says, "Yes, I like that operator error." Yeah,
Isn't that fun, Cecilia? That is a fun way of putting it.
oh my goodness. So yeah, I think it would be better. It would be good to have a ongoing courtship with money
I agree.
so that I could understand her better.
Yes. She loves courtship, you know.
Mhm, mhm.
She
And
does.
she'll show up for many dates.
Yeah. You need to be courted consistently. you
There's
coax
a book.
you're coaxing her into whatever it is
Mhm,
you want to see
mhm,
happen. So today we just simply talk about, simply looking at money, knowing where that coming from, knowing your train of thought, knowing and understanding where what I had looked like before
mhm,
and what it could look like as you journey through life. And when hardship comes, when you're without, because lots of times we can go back to those times and tap into when we had nothing, when we were ill. Like we had a set and it disappeared. What was that in between time? What was happening inside of us? What was going on? Because the things that is going on with us and inside of us either make money stick around or leaves us. Our
Mhm.
behavior this transcend into that. I mean, think about it. We go to work, and when we do the work, we get paid for the work, whether it's business or a job. And what we do with it, happens,
Mhm.
continuously happens with the money, makes it stay or it goes. Terry says, it's not understood, abuses.
And,
It
and
is.
you know who said that? Miles Monroe.
See that?
He said, "When purpose is not understood, abuse is inevitable."
Yeah.
So I'm sorry, Mr. Money. I didn't mean to. I didn't mean to abuse you. Oh
It is
my
so true. It is
gosh.
so true. When you hear these quotes, and we love Miles, so we love his topic. We love for what he stood for
Mhm.
while
And
he was
and
here,
it's
and
easy to understand when he breaks it down for you.
hmm yeah, yeah, he speaks some truths, and you know, um, every time somebody, and I would say to people, if you lose a job, if you're in a job and you got laid off or you got fired, it was coming.
Mm-hmm.
And it's going to hurt regardless. But if you were preparing yourself while you're at your job, you leave differently. If you were, and that means if you were saving and understanding how to save, you leave differently. If you had another thing on the horizon, you leave differently.
Mm.
If you were there and that paycheck that's going to come 2 weeks after you got laid off or fired, you feel like the earth will take you in because you feel like you have nowhere else to go. You feel really confused. You feel like everything is going to crush you. But in that moment in time, this is the time, if you're in that situation, where it's so important to just take a couple of days and breathe and understand this moment in time is there to serve you. It's not to make you feel bad. It's not to put pressure on you. But when you tell somebody that that's in the midst, they can't see that or hear that because they're like, what are you talking about? I don't have a job. I got five. How's this going to be the best time for me? But it is, because pressure really make you do a lot of great things if you would just let the pressure be versus name it, condemn it, get upset with it. But if you would live into the pressure, it shows you, it gives you a roadmap. It really do. It's the brain is condensing and feeling overwhelmed, like the words we use these days. But what the brain is doing is moving through this maze to bring you the answers. A coordinator of my business program, little 5-year-old daughter, told her that she was studying
Mm-hmm.
for her finals. She was studying for her PhD. And she was, she couldn't get the material like in the brain. Like she's thinking, I can't do this. And she's a big woman already, had all her kids, and had this last kid. And she said, part of her was saying, why did I go and get a last kid at this time? Like it's taken away from what I need to do it. And she said, the kid came in the room at the same time. She said, even God, this is God. God just sent her in to calm her down. And she tapped on the mom's knees and she says, Mom, why are you upset? And she says, I'm not upset. This work is hard work. And she said, in her head, she's like, why are you talking to a 5-year-old? But she keeps saying, this is just hard work. And the 5-year-old says, Mom, are you confused? I guess she heard a word. And the mom she says, I'm telling you, Karen, I was so mad. I was like, confused? Child, what do you know about confused? She says, Mom, it's okay. It's okay if you're confused. Because if you stay confused long enough, you're going to feel better later.
Say what?
Yeah. And she tell us a story. And she said, I tell you this is God, because the child said this to her daughter, and she
Mm-hmm.
didn't linger around for mom to give her anything. She just left the room. And she's saying, this was a message, she says. And I sat there as confused as I was before the child came. So I'm double confused now. Because what does she know about confusion? And she said,
Mm-hmm.
I sat there and I stayed into the state. I didn't escape. This was the point. She didn't try to get up and escape. And she says, as I sat there, it almost like when you see the clouds parting in
Mm.
the sky and it's getting clear up after rain, after cloudiness, after darkness, and it starts suddenly getting bright and you see the sun come out. She said, that's how I start feeling.
Wow.
That's how better I start getting.
Clarity.
It's not necessarily that I knew the answers and I could figure it out, but I started getting clearer, clearer. She said, by the time I got up from the desk, I was able to understand things that I've been trying to understand for 2 whole weeks. Content that I was trying to get in my brain for 2 whole weeks. The pressure, all those things started to make sense and just start coming together. You see, staying in that state is the hardest thing, but it's the best thing you can do. When you got no money, don't run too quickly to find money. You're missing the point, the message, what needs to happen. You're missing out. Stay in it. Understand it. Allow. Don't stay in it to control it, though. Just stay in it to understand it. Allow what's going to happen, happen. Allow it. And eventually, the sky will part and the sun will come out and it starts to make sense.
Wow.
And it starts to make sense. That's how simple money is.
Wow.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. Well, I think that as we work through how we really feel about money, how it makes us feel when we first learned about money and whether or not we were excited, and when we first felt disappointment surrounding money, I think that once we face all those facts,
That is the
I don't think we really think about it, Coach. I don't think we
yeah,
really think about it.
yeah.
You know,
We
leave
don't,
money.
and we don't want to because when it's very painful, we just don't want to go there.
Yeah, yeah.
We just don't
Or
want to
when
go.
there's lack, we
Yeah,
think we're going to get more of what we've been experiencing.
yeah, yeah.
And so we don't want to revisit
We don't want to revisit. We don't want to go there.
because we
Think
think,
about it, physically. If you got, like, I got this scar on my leg, it's not going to go anywhere. It was five stitches inside and five stitches outside. That's how deep it was. They had a stitch from the inside and a stitch from the outside. It was so deep, and you know, over time, it got infected. That's the word for it, and they had to go back in. Pain like nobody's business. I can feel the pain right now. The kind of pain that you don't want to feel. So asking
mhm,
somebody to sit in the pain is hard, but the
mhm,
result from sitting in the pain is tremendous. And nobody can walk that for you. Nobody can take that for you. That is something, that's a gift you have to want to give yourself.
mhm,
Not easy, but it's
mhm.
a gift you want to give yourself. Because when you give it to yourself, the results is tremendous. So
Well, I think, I like to draw these in. I think it's just like dating. If you've had a lot of unsuccessful relationships, you get a little squeamish about dating.
true.
But once you come to know more about yourself and what you want, then you're less likely to make the same mistakes.
Right. Right. Because when we date, it's really we feeling, excuse me, uncomfortable. Lots of time, your first set of dates with yourself. You're wanting somebody to give you what you're not willing to give yourself.
Or
Your
that you
first,
even know you want.
you exactly, or even
Because
know
how
that you
many
want.
times have you gone on those initial dates and they say, "What do you want to do?" I don't know. What do you want to do? You don't even know yourself.
You don't know yourself. You don't know yourself. I remember I was going on this date with this guy. It was just couples. It was three girls with three guys, and everybody wanted to go to the movies. I remember not wanting to go to the movies, but I just went with a pile of people because I was a teenager and everybody was going to the
Yeah,
movies.
exactly.
And I got there, and I remember we got into the movies, and I left to go to the washroom, and I never went back, and everybody thought I was crazy. I didn't like the guy. I realized when I walk outside Terry, I didn't like the guy. And I said to myself, "What am I doing here?" My friends were mad at me, but I left them. I left everybody.
All righty then. So maybe the next time there need to be some some introductions before these group dates. Maybe we need to meet up. We need to meet up at McDonald's first and see if we even want to be in a dark place with this
Right,
person.
right. Guy's throwing his arm around me. I was like, nah. Ah, ah.
No. So
So let's do the same thing with money, right?
yes,
See,
let's make sure that we have a good
let's
relationship
make sure we cover it. So yeah,
and that this is where we want to be with money.
with money, yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Nice
Oh,
light topic today.
it's like, oh my
Yeah.
gosh, guys. So we need to question our relationships with money and make sure that if we had a poor relationship, that we need to work on having a better relationship, which
We do.
means we need a money counselor. You know how you get a marriage counselor? We need a money counselor.
You heard it, guys.
Cecilia says, great topic. Yeah, I don't think we even think about it, Cecilia. I think, when we think back and then we can figure out, oh, so this is why I feel this way when people start talking about being wealthy and
Mhm.
having a successful business. This is why I'm self-sabotaging
Mhm.
myself. This is
Yeah.
why I'm not showing up. This
Mhm.
is why, you know what I mean?
Yes.
In places where there's money to be made.
Mhm.
Something is going on with how we're
Yes.
thinking about money.
Mhm.
So with that, we want to remind you guys that if you're looking for Coach Karen, you can find her everywhere on the web under Profits in Daily. Coach
Mhm.
Caren Fern. And she has a Facebook page, Instagram. Where else can they find you on the web? Those two places are your
Those are
primary.
the places are fine. I have nothing on TikTok. I only claim my real estate. That's about it.
I feel you. I feel you. So we want you to follow Coach Karen and make sure that when you do that you have your pencil and paper ready so that you can capture some of this valuable information that she's sharing with us. In the meantime, we'd love for you to become a part of the Biz Chicks community if you haven't already done so. We'd love for you to share this out with your friends and invite them to come on over. You can do that by texting Biz to 33777 and becoming a part of our community. We'd love to have you. It's free to join, and we'd like to welcome you and share what you do with the others in the community so that they can support you and your business. So, with that, we want you to remember it's okay to be successful and go to the front of your own line.
Mhm.
Have a great day, and we will see you tomorrow. We'll be talking happy, healthy habits with Robin Shimizu and friends. I think Brenna, our Queen of Green, is going to be on to show us how to use products that are non toxic. And then Friday, we'll be talking tech and English. Thank you again, Coach, for
You're
taking
welcome.
time out all the way from Toronto, Canada. And for all of you who took time out of your busy day, we just want to say thank you. Have a great day, and we'll see you tomorrow.
All
Bye
right.
bye.